Hello. So in this video, I want to talk to the readers and new aspiring authors. Now, this is just stuff that I've been going through, and I want to share this experience so you maybe get an understanding of what my journey as a self-published author has been like. Now, I'm not going to name any particular person in this video. I'm not going to call anybody out. I will only be talking about things that have been said to me that kind of irritate me and make me upset, and honestly have made me question about being an author at all. So, to start with, why did I choose self-publishing? Well, I know nothing about the business of writing when I started. I didn't know how to get in contact with any major publishers. People on YouTube and other places have talked about the big three publishing houses. I have no clue who those big three are, or how to even possibly get in the door. I know you have to send a copy of your work. Not a problem. I could do that. I know you have to send a query letter. I can do that too. But see, here's the issue. There are probably hundreds of aspiring authors all trying to get in that door. And what I do know, and I knew this going in, is that, like Hollywood, it's a very competitive business. Big businesses only want to promote stuff that is currently trending. And you have a very small window of how long that currently trending thing can be. And then your book has to be better than all the others to really stand a chance. To people who are trying to do this, great. I hope it works out for you. But self-publishing offered a voice to anyone. Now, when I first published the first edition of The Guardian of Light, I liked my cover, but I wasn't crazy about my cover. It didn't really translate well. I'm not entirely sure how else to say it, because I wasn't disappointed. I didn't hate my cover. I just felt like it could have been better. And I actually went through someone I know, somebody who had been going to college for graphic design. And I looked at things online. I did a ton of research. I talked to a ton of friends, family, coworkers about what they like when they look at book covers. Now, I've mentioned this in a previous video. Most of the people I've talked to, most of the research I did online, people do not like people on covers. People call me crazy and say I don't know what I'm talking about, but this is not something I asked. I didn't go up and say, hey, do you like people on covers? And they go, no. I went up, I said, what's the one thing about book covers you don't like seeing? And they said, I don't like it when I see a person on the cover. It makes me think that it's a cheesy romance novel or something. Which, come to find out, actually, that seems to be a very big thing in romance books, is that you have a couple on the cover, or you have a person on the cover. So, understandably, the people I talk to, they clearly are not the romance cover types. I thought about it, and I came up with my own cover design. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to have a single item on each cover, but more importantly, because I knew the story and the direction it was going to go, I was like, well, each book is going to get darker as the story progresses on. What if the covers reflected that, starting with white and ending in black? Recently, I've been trying to upgrade my work. I've been trying to upgrade my blurbs, my synopsis, everything to get more people interested, because I've tried talking about it here. I never get any comments. I know some of you probably have, and to those who have, thank you very much. I really hope you've enjoyed the book series so far. But as I've been trying to update my work and go back to the beginning, I noticed something. In the first book, I had 9 reviews. All the reviews for the first book were quite positive. Now, granted, yes, 2 or 3 of those reviews are from people in my family or my friends. I won't say who, but yes, some of them is family. So you can knock 3 of the 9 out. One of them is myself. Back when I released book 1, I wanted to add a comment, and the only way for me to add a public comment was to leave a review. So I had to give it a star rating, and I had written out the comment. I was told to take the comment down because it looked really bad, which I did, but the star rating stayed. Now, most authors probably would have given themselves a 5-star rating just to help boost their ratings, but I actually gave myself a 3-star rating because I knew the story and I knew which way I felt about this book. Honestly, I'm not very big into origin stories, which is what this is. It's an origin story of the main character. It's what gets the main character in the door. So, of all the books, this probably sits in the middle for me. If I am being completely honest, I would only be half as thrilled with this story. Mostly because origin stories kind of turn me off. Is it enough to keep me interested and maybe check out the second and see if it gets better? Of course it is. Because I feel like when you have a story and you move from the first to the second, the main character is already in the know. They've gone through the training. They might still be training, but they've gone through it and they can just start right away. A good example of this, and I know it's not technically a hero, but look at the difference between Child's Play and Child's Play 2. Child's Play was good, but if you ask any fan of Chucky which Child's Play they like the most of the time they will say Child's Play 2. Because we already know the doll is alive. We already know the doll is possessed by Charles Lee Ray. And Chucky gets to be Chucky, well, right from the beginning. We don't need any suspicion of is or isn't the doll alive. He gets to start being Chucky right away, which gives us more time with him. Gives us more time with him doing what Chucky does best. The one-liners, the snappy comebacks, the silly jokes, the being a menacing doll. But for the first movie, 3/4 of that movie, you don't know if the doll, you, the audience, knows the doll's alive, but the people inside the movie don't know, and we don't see anything happen. That's a good example of why I'm not too thrilled about origin stories. That's why whenever I've done a free ebook promotion, I've given away free copies of book 1 and book 2. Usually one week I do book 1, then the next week book 2. Some people might love origin stories. I have a friend who loves origin stories over the sequels. For some people, it works. For some people, it doesn't. But as I was saying, so I've been trying to update my blurb. And I was looking at my reviews, and I saw, well, I'm not getting any sales. But I've got really good reviews. Like this one here. They were buying the book for a friend, and they read the first chapter and liked it so much they were ordering a copy for themselves. Now, I don't know if this person that wrote this actually did buy the book for themselves and continued to buy the books in the series. I really hope they did, but I haven't seen any more reviews from this person. I think this is probably one of the best reviews that I've gotten, but it just makes me wonder. When I took to social media about this question, people were like, well, your book cover sucks. Your book cover's bad. Your book cover's plain. I was actually on a website. My book cover was on a website, and that's what inspired me to try to change it up. Try to pop it out a little to make it different. And the person on there was saying, oh, well, here, go to this website and make sure your book cover follows these rules. Well, first off, let me tell you something. I'm not one for rules. Not when it comes to art. Art should not live by rules. And the research I did, well, hold on. Let me back up a minute. So I go to the website and I start reading. The website basically says, use your own original font. And it gives ideas like mixing fonts, of established fonts that fit together. Make it your own. Make it a font you like. The font I picked, I really liked it. I liked it a lot. It worked for me. It flowed. It was kind of Christmassy, but fantasy. If you're really paying attention, you can tell. Like the capital letters are all in this special font, whereas the rest of the word is in a different font. The different font plays off the more fantasy type, whereas the capitalized letters, the G and the L, focus more on the Christmassy angle. Because yes, my books, even though they don't all take place at Christmas time, are Christmas based. The North Pole is in all of it. Him being Santa Claus is in all of it. All the things that go along with Santa are all prevalent throughout the series. But that was what it said. Choose your font carefully, which I did. Done. Next, it said, do your research. Look at other book covers in your genre and try to get a book cover like that. Well, that's what I did. And I looked at covers in bookstores. I looked at covers online. Yeah, I saw a lot of covers that had beautiful artwork. And I also looked at cover designer prices. Now, first off, the ones with beautiful artwork, the ones with people on the covers, all of those, most of them, I should say, were not big-named authors. So I looked at the big-named authors. I looked at Game of Thrones, Twilight, Hunger Games, several others. You know what I found was on their covers? Usually one thing, an item of some kind, against a pretty plain background. I can't even find some of the cover, like the original covers, but for example, if you take a look here, Lord of the Rings. This is a plain black cover with this symbol on it. Twilight had black covers with a single item on it. Now, when I looked at bookshelves in stores, most of the covers were very dark. Dark greens, dark reds, dark, grays or blacks. You know what stood out to me the most was the covers that were very bright, like white, like Crave. That stood out to me. All the books with black or dark colors, they didn't really pop out as much as the white ones. Now, people have talked about, well, your book cover needs to be good enough for a thumbnail. Okay. Well, what makes it not good enough for a thumbnail? Clearly the fact that the necklace is on the cover means it's probably very prominent to the story. It's a very important artifact for this book series. The fact it's a snowflake design tells you, okay, this has to be winter-based somehow. So you got the Guardian of Light, the snowflake necklace, so clearly it's fantasy dealing with winter. Now, people have said that as a small little thumbnail, which I think they're still crazy, but it's hard to read the title. There's this other section right here that Amazon puts just in case you and cannot read the thumbnail. Most, I guess I should say, normal people would look at a thumbnail and realize, wow, that's a much smaller version than it's intended to be. So maybe if I want to know what it is, I'm going to look over next to it and see, oh, it's called the Guardian of Light. That's why I was like, people kept telling me, they're like, well, you got to get the clicks. It's like, well, the title is the title. The title exists for a reason. Otherwise, why would I call my book that? You want to know the truth? I actually didn't come up with the title of the entire series until I was halfway through with book 2. I was all the way through with book 2 just about before I finally came up with a title for the first book. And I decided to be easy about it and just use that same title for all the books and add subtitles to the sequels. I've said this before, and I've talked to many people before, and those people have pretty much agreed with me. Most readers that I know or I've talked to do not go online looking for books to buy. They go online and look for books that have been recommended to them, whether it's through Amazon recommending it based off of something else you've bought, whether it's a friend, whether it's a YouTuber doing a review. Most people are cautious buyers, and they check into this stuff or they hear about this beforehand. I have a friend who is very big into anime and manga. Most of the time, he hears about this anime or manga long before he ever sees the covers. And me and him, we've talked about it, and he said, yeah, there's maybe been like one time where he went looking, and one time out of all the anime and manga he has, kind of goes to show that, well, usually people want stuff that's recommended to them. So, if you have read my series, the best thing you can do to help me out, to help spread the word. But what else did that website say? Well, they also said, don't be too complicated. Make it simple. Well, it doesn't get simpler than this. This is as simple as it gets. Then the website says, make it personal, but not cheesy. Well, it doesn't get more personal than putting in the effort to put in a theme, to put in the work. The website also talks about lots of space. They say don't have too much going on the cover. Well, that is what I did. There's plenty of space, a lot of space on my cover, So I don't understand this, I've gone through and I've done all this research. I've done everything that I should be doing according to professionals. It's just really funny because the same person that told me to go to this website was saying no one's going to care why I do the things I did for my cover. I mean, what if I honestly said I didn't design this? So a professional designed it for me. I wonder if these people would still be saying the same thing. Because I'm almost guaranteeing here's the rub. A lot of these people that are telling me I need to hire a professional, and some of this has actually happened, they turn around and try to sell me their service. And usually they want quite a bit of money. Because the same person that said no one's going to care that my cover sucks also sat there and said, dude, your cover is clickbait. Well, wait a minute, hold on. If it's clickbait, then why is nobody clicking on it? That makes 0 sense whatsoever. That's exactly what everybody on Facebook was telling me, that no one's going to click on my cover because it's too simple and too plain and it makes no sense and it's hard to read and all these other things. You know what? I've looked and looked, and other people who I've talked to have looked, and it doesn't appear hard to read for them. So, moving on. Next, I was told how to write a blurb. Now, again, this is something I've already done the research on. Before I go on Facebook or Twitter or wherever and try to talk to other people, I've already done the research on this. And I've tried a couple different ways. And you know what I keep finding is people want to keep selling me services. Oh, you can do this, but I think you need to hire a professional. Why not hire me? Well, what makes you a professional? How do I know you're a professional? Because you're trying to rip people off? Now, I'm not saying that lightly. Here's the thing. I've talked to readers, and I know I've said that a million times probably in this video. I've been talking with readers, and readers say they actually prefer self-published authors over big company books. Because big company books all spit out the same stuff. Whereas self-published authors have a little bit more freedom. And I say a little bit because, well, apparently the readers are still just buying the same thing that the big companies are spitting out. But as a self-published author, when I first started and I put out my first book, yes, there was a lot of mistakes. I had 0 money or help at the time. I was doing it 100% basically on my own. I had beta readers, but they only caught a few of the mistakes. So finally, after I released book 1 and got my first few author copies, this one girl I was trying to sell the book to, she's like, I'll take a look at your first book and I'll help you out. Immediately, she turned me off from the whole idea of getting an outside perspective because she opened up the book, read some of it, and goes, can we change the names of your characters? No. So she wasn't happy with the names I created for my characters. She kept wanting to change major plot points. And it's like, no, I'm not going to change major plot points. This is not your story. This is my story. I just need help finding the grammatical errors That's all I need your help with. Finding grammatical errors. Finally, thankfully, she said, as she went on through the book, she found less and less mistakes. So apparently that meant I was getting better as I went. I did have somebody very close to me who finally came to me and said, look, your books are really good. We really like them. Send me your book when you're done writing it. Because you aren't making too many mistakes. You're either putting the wrong word in or you just missed a single letter. And they are willing to proofread it for me. Now, to be fair, I actually proofread it a few times myself. I go through with spell check, then I go through with Grammarly, then I go through the chapter by chapter, and I let the computer read it back to me. Since it was pointed out that I use the wrong words, but spell the words correctly. I want to make sure that all the words are exactly the words I mean to put in. So I try to do as much of my own proofreading, but I'm not perfect. And I don't trust that I'm going to catch every little thing. My biggest problem is punctuations, putting in commas, stuff like that. And I've learned a lot. And I've changed a lot since I wrote the first book. And the first book has gotten a major overhaul since then. The only remnant of the very first edition that remains out there is the audiobook, which is why I don't push the audiobook much. But I'm trying to get someone to help me with continuing the audiobooks so I can start pushing the audiobooks in the future. Until that time, I'm mainly focusing on the paperbacks. This is why I tell you, if you're going to pick up my book series, please pick up the paperback. It's the best way you're going to enjoy this series. That's why my extra books will not have ebooks. I'm not a big fan of the whole ebook thing. Yes, it's great if you want to have it so you can read on the go, but if you want the best experience, I suggest picking up the paperback. Now, I was told my ebook price was way too high, but we'll get back into that in a minute. Going back to the errors. So I fixed all the errors. Now, again, recently people are saying, well, I'm still finding errors in your work. And you can hire me to edit your book. And the way they say it sounds great, sounds lovely. 10 cents a word. Well, 10 cents doesn't seem like very much. Then they say, well, how big is your book? Well, it's a little over 300 pages. Well, how many words? And I tell them, well, the first book has 75,428 words. At 10 cents a word, well, before I reveal how much it is, I said, okay, so is this 10 cents a word words that you fix or edit? Meaning you're going to tally down every time you have to change a word? Which, if that was the case, okay. But the guy tells me, no, it's how many words are in your book? And I told him, 75,428. For him to edit or proofread whatever he was going to do, that would be $7,542.80. I am a self-published author who works a part-time minimum wage job and is a single parent with a daughter who is 6 years old. No, I cannot afford a professional editor. Even at 5 cents a word, that still comes up to $3,771.40. At prices like this, if you are a reader and you are expecting that your self-published author goes out and gets something professionally edited by one of these companies, and the calculations I just gave you were from an actual company, then they're already rich. If they have the money to throw at this book that they're going to try to sell, they already are rich if they can afford to casually just spend that kind of money on a book they're making. The idea of self-publishing, as far as I understood it, was the chance for the little guys. The guys that, don't have the money to really get out there and keep going chasing after the big companies to pick their book, or the big company has declined to pick their book, and they still want to tell this story. They still want to get it out to readers. They still want a chance for their story to be heard. This is practically a scam. This is saying that you can be a self-published author only if you have money. And if you have money, then why are you trying to be a self-published author? And book covers? Probably not much cheaper. Not from a professional. So, if you enjoy self-published work, if you enjoy these people who have more creativity than the people who are working with big businesses, this is my honest opinion. Don't expect a masterpiece as far as the editing goes. This is like B-movies. They're not perfect. They could have a really great story, but it goes into saying, I guess, there are a lot of snooty, snotty people who say, well, if it's not professional, well, you know what? Self-publishing, the whole idea behind it is that it's not professional. When I first released book 1, someone said I should release my stuff on a free website for people to read. So I have this really great idea for a series, and instead of trying to make any money off it, I should give it away for free and make zero money. Some money, no money. I repeat, some money or no money. Again, I am a single parent with a child who is trying to make a better life for me and my child. I spent years working on this, and people online want to charge an arm and a leg. Now, if there was a professional service out there, really professional, that maybe charged like $100 or $200 to proofread an entire book, I'd be a little bit better and say, you know what, maybe I could get a second pair of eyes. But no, they want to charge thousands of dollars. Book 1 released almost 3 years ago. In 2019, I released book 1. I have made, off book 1, probably in the range of $100. So, I've spent almost $1,000 on all the marketing and stuff I've done in the 3-year time for my book series. And I've made about $100. I've lost about $900. If I had gone and professionally worked with an editor that charges anywhere from 5 to 10 cents per word, book 1 would have cost me thousands of dollars. And I would have had zero for the cover, and I would have had zero for advertising. And this is a 6-book series. I'm on book 5. Let's round it down to just 7,000 even. So 7,000 times 5, $35,000 is what I would have spent just on the editing alone. Not to mention the book covers. Hey, if you are a self-published author and you are spending this kind of money, great, wonderful. I'm glad it's working out for you. But guess what? Most self-published authors don't have that kind of money. Most self-published authors are working dead-end jobs, minimum wage jobs, or they have spousal support. I'm not saying all of us do, but if you're spending this kind of money, thousands of dollars, I really would ask you to consider, why do you like self-published authors? Do you read a book for the words? This is I guess my biggest question to readers. Do you read a book to see that somebody spelled the words correctly, someone used the correct terms, someone used the correct verb, and put the right period in the right spot, and the right comma after the right word? Are those the reasons you read a book? Or do you read it to hear a good story? I was listening to Stephen King's It, and there's a section in the book where the main character is in a creative writing class, and the teacher is talking about it, and he's like, what message does this book send? And he flat out says, well, I'm not trying to send a message. I'm just trying to tell a good story. And that's what I say to you. I believe as many mistakes should be worked out so it can flow and read right. Don't get me wrong, I fully believe in that. And if you have friends and you have family and you have that support, get as much support as you can. You know, when I was writing book one and I was watching tons of videos to learn about self-publishing and everything I need to do. Yes, I was researching stuff long before. While I was writing this series, I was watching videos at the same time trying to learn. And they said, make sure you get as much of it worked out as possible. That way your costs will stay down. Well, you know what? Even at the minimum cost of words in the book, that's still quite a bit. So I don't know if I'm ever going to do this again. I don't even know if I'm going to leave this video up for very long. But please, readers, give us self-published authors a little bit of leeway. I don't know if this is just the people on Facebook and Twitter and other social media platforms, but the idea of self-publishing is that we're doing it ourselves. So we can tell you a good story. So we can say to you, hey, you want to be entertained? I got a story for you. If you want people that do big business, well, they're already part of that big business. Self-published authors who have the money to spend thousands of dollars on a book are probably spitting out the same stuff that's been spit out 100 times before. I've seen many YouTubers, other published authors, self-published authors, who sit there and whine and complain about the same old stories being told through self-published work or through big businesses. And it's like, well, why do you keep sticking with the same people? I've mentioned on this channel before how many times I've seen the names of certain authors over and over and over. And it's like, well, why do you keep reading their crap? If you think their stuff is bad, why do you keep reading it? Why do you keep sticking into genres, parts of the genre that you like, that clearly you don't like? If you don't like a certain type of genre in fantasy, be it romance stories between werewolves and vampires, let's say, then switch over. Maybe it's a different type of fantasy story you're looking for. The whole thing with my books was I wanted to write something that had never been done. Yes, somebody becoming a wizard has been done. Somebody becoming Santa Claus has been done. But nobody has ever gone with Santa Claus in this role that I put the character in. No one has envisioned the character of Santa Claus quite this way, which is something new, something fresh. Yes, there are a lot of fantasy things in my book series that have all been done before, but I tried as best I could to put a new spin on every single one of them. And I'm telling a very interesting story along the way. So I invite you to join that. If my book cover is so bad, maybe read the book and see if it really is that bad. Maybe the answer to why it's that way lies within the book itself. Of course, that was one of the biggest issues I had too with going to social media and trying to talk with other authors, as one person actually started his whole spiel with, well, I'm in the same boat as you, but your book cover sucks and your blurb needs work. Wait a minute. You're in the same boat as me. Wait, what? That makes no sense. How are you giving me advice on what's not working when you're telling me you're in the same boat? So your book cover's bad and your blurb is bad? I didn't say this to him because I'm not a rude person. I try to be as nice to people as possible. And after he berated my cover for quite some time, I was like, he would start claiming I was getting defensive. And I was like, no. I'm not getting defensive. I'm just saying everybody keeps telling me the same thing. Which, okay, granted, maybe they might have a point. But when several of them are just trying to sell me a service, it's like, oh, your book cover sucks. Buy mine. Oh, you need editing. Buy mine. They're not really paying attention. They're not really saying it's bad. They just want me to hire them and give them my money. Which I guess is the whole point why I'm making this video, to make you aware that there are going to be people like this if you are getting into self-publishing. There are people who are going to be like, oh, well, yeah, your book cover, oh, it sucks. Oh, I spent $500 hiring a professional. That person sucks. You need to buy a book cover from me. Well, how much are you charging? Only $700. So I spent $500, and if I pay you, that's $700 more. So it's only $250 more than my first one. But I want to sell more copies. So, okay, I'll buy from you. So now, instead of $700, you've now spent $1,200. And you see what I'm saying? That's the problem. They're not really saying your book cover sucks because, they're just saying that, they want you to buy their service. This guy was not, now, to be fair, this guy was not trying to sell me a service. This is the one person that definitely was not trying to sell me a service, but the fact he started with, you and I are in the same boat, kind of put me off to his advice, because it's like, blind leading the blind here? How can you tell me my book cover sucks? How can you tell me that my blurb doesn't work? And that was the other thing. You can sit here listening. If you're still listening, if anyone's listening. But you can sit there and you can say, well, maybe your blurb does suck. Maybe you should rethink your blurb and go change it. Well, I've already been doing that. I've been doing that like week to week to try to find one that works. And I keep listening to opinions and advice from people, and I'm actually getting to the point where I'm growing sick of listening to advice, because one person's telling me, oh, it's too long. One person tells me, oh, it needs to be short, or it needs to be longer. Shorter, longer, more, less. Do this, do that. don't do this, don't do that. A lot of conflicting things. And it really drives me nuts. Because it's like, here I am. I'm just trying to tell a good story. I really want to share this story with you all. So, recently, I have upgraded my blurb. And I'm starting to get an idea of where my best key points lie. And that's what I'm going to recommend. If you are going to redo your blurb, get like 20 people. Whether it's on social media, whether it's in person, or split them even. 10 in person, 10 on social media. And try telling them your story. And after you're done, ask them what really stood out about the story. And see what they say. How much focus is completely up to you. If you want to focus heavily on the main character, focus on the main character. Me, personally, I am not a big fan of the origin stories. I think they are done well sometimes and not done well the other times. I did not start my book series with the main character. Big shock. Every time I say that, people are like flipping out. Well, you gotta start the book with your main character. Because, that's who the people are connecting with. And these are the same people, by the way, who will sit there and tell you that readers skip prologues. So, when I recently talked about my book on another page on Facebook, different page, they kept saying, why are you not mentioning your main character in the blurb? Why aren't you doing this? And I said, well, because I'm only going through the first 2 chapters because I don't want to spoil anything. And they're like, your main character is not in the first 2 chapters? I said, no, it's not. And they're like, well, you got to. That's the rules. You have to have the main character in your first 2 chapters. In your first chapter, you got to start the book with your main character. I'm like, why? Well, because anything before that is a prologue. But according to what professionals have said about prologues, a lot of people skip prologues, and the inciting incident, which is the first 2 chapters, happens literally the day before, and also does not involve the main character directly. It's what opens the door for the main character to become the main character. It does set up the main villain of the book, but it does not focus on the main character. And there are a ton of movies. A ton of movies. In fact, I'd say 60 to 70% of movies usually do not start with the main character. Sometimes, very rarely, the main character doesn't even come in until halfway through. So, if it works in a movie, why can't it work for a book? And I talked about this recently in the previous video. When we write stories as an author, it is a form of art. We are being creative. There are no rules. Anyone who tells you that you have to follow rules when you are writing creatively, in my opinion, they're wrong. You can write a story however you want. If you want your main character to come in halfway through the book, hey, if you can pull it off, go ahead and do it. If you can somehow have a book with 0 main characters, do it. Do whatever you want. It's your art. The book is your canvas, and you are painting a book that's going to entertain and bring joy to people. So, I've ranted and rambled for quite some time. These are just my opinions. Really consider, if you are a reader, really consider, why do you like an indie author? Do you like it because you want to be a grammar Nazi and shame them? Because that seems to be a big popular thing going on nowadays. Or do you want a really good story that's not held back by big companies? Do you want to help the little guy? Because at these prices, let me tell you, self-published authors, they either have money or they really need your help. They need a lot of help because those prices are insane. Just think, they spent $7,000 or more. And that's the other thing too, is most writers that I've been talking to say that my book is rather short for a fantasy fiction at 300 pages. I'm like, really? Because I was told it's too much by some people. And I don't know. It just, for me, it would have costed over $7,000 to get it professionally edited. And I don't even want to think about what a professional book cover would probably cost me. This was perfect. I took, and my friend who helped me, I still give her credit. She did a phenomenal job on the title. And I have used the same template title on each book. I have modified it a little here and there, but it is essentially still the same work she put in. I love the title work she did. I thought the background needed to be a little better, and I wanted it to reflect my story, which I think it does. I think it is great. I have talked to many of my readers who have ordered the book, and they like the covers. It's only people who have not read the book who seem to not like it. I mean, this could be because those people I'm talking to are competition, or those people are not familiar with the story. But I think once somebody actually reads the book and gets invested in the story, they really come to understand the cover. So, yeah, that's basically it. That's basically all I have to say, is really consider, why are you a fan of fantasy? Why are you a fan of self-published over big business? Are you just reading a book because you want to post somebody out for making a mistake, something even big businesses do from time to time? Not saying all the time, not saying most of the time, but there's always a typo or something. There's always a mistake somewhere. And I guarantee you, with self-published authors, the moment you bring it to their attention, we're on it. We're fixing that so the next person who orders doesn't have it. So you will have a rare copy or edition. I mean, if you actually have the paperback, you'd have a rarer copy. So, this has been my rant to readers and other self-published authors. I hope this has helped some of you. I am probably going to get a lot of negative feedback, which I'm totally ready for. Bring it on. At least people will be responding to the video, maybe. Or hopefully, maybe you'll all surprise me and I'll get a lot of good feedback. I'd love to hear that. That'd be a nice change of pace for the world. Whatever the feedback is, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. I have another channel which I will be using for gaming. If you want to check it out, follow me on Twitter. I will be posting whenever I'm about to go live on a gaming stream. I'm going to try to do it once a week. If you would like to check out my book series, a link will be in the description below. I really hope you'll check it out. It's really really a good series. It's been getting good reviews. Everybody seems to love it once they read it. So I hope you will take the chance and actually give it a shot. It would mean the world to me, and it would mean the world to my daughter, because that's who I'm writing this for. This book series is my legacy to my daughter. So when I die and she's left wondering about her dad, she knows this is what my dad did for me. This is what he left behind. And she'll share it hopefully with her children, and so on. So that is why I write this book series, because I want something I think she's going to love and grow up loving and share with her family. And if she had other people to share it with, that'd be great too. Even if her father did make a mistake or two, did misspell a word, didn't hire a professional, and take all the money we don't even have to pay these people thousands of dollars, and book covers that actually make sense once you see them all together. Because that's just it. The book series isn't even done. Book 6 isn't even out yet. And the way I'm going, I mean, it's pretty much, it's going to be black. The last book's going to be black. I mean, they've been getting gradually darker by 20% each cover. So, there's only one left now. That's why I write. That's why I do this. I do this for her. And hopefully when she is old enough to read and share this book with her friends and talk about it, hopefully she'll have other fans of this series to talk about it with. This has the potential for a big fan base. It has an expansive world that is way more expansive than I actually thought it was back at the beginning of writing this series. So I look forward to that. But I want to thank you all for watching. If you would like to follow me and see more videos, I also do giveaways on the channel. Please subscribe today. Make sure to click the notification bell so you're notified the second a new video goes up. This video is going to be exclusive on YouTube. So I don't know for how long. I don't know if I'll leave it up permanently or not, but if you want to check out another video, click over here to the right. And if you want to check out a playlist of writing advice, if you're a new author or even if you're just an author looking for ideas, click over here on the right on my writing advice videos. Maybe I got some ideas that'll help you out. I want to thank you all for watching. I'll talk to you later.